Welcome back to part 2 of our second edition of the Zero Hour. We're going to be talking about the other ISOs that have been not only released with Chapter 4 but actually implemented as a whole, and that's the augmented ISO 8s or AISOs, which allows you to modify your hero's abilities, each one specifically. We touched on these a little bit in our first podcast, so we're going to go ahead and just talk about the character-specific ones. I do want to say one thing, however, and that's if you're paying attention in the store, the AISOs you can buy with command points, and I'm referring specifically to the attack ones. There's 3 different ones you can modify your attack with. You can increase the hit percentage, increase critical attacks, or increase your damage, and those cost 10, 20, and 30 command points respectively. Just a little tip on maybe might save you some command points. More expensive does not always mean better. Critical hits are very important, so if you're already running with a close or distant EISO or something else that's going to greatly increase your chance of critical hits, go ahead, spend the 30 command points on the hero that you want to augment, put the powerful AISO in that ability. However, if you do not have close or distant, I would actually recommend going with the 20 command point charged AISO. Besides the fact it's cheaper, it's actually better because that increased chance in critical hits is likely to lead to more damage being dealt than just a straight damage AISO. So, little tip there about the command point AISOs. And that takes us back to Season 2, Chapter 4, Mission 1, and the first of the augmented ISOs we're going to talk about, which is Union Jack's Victorious AISO. Actually, the first any EISO or AISO I got out of Chapter 4. Union Jack has always been a little bit underrated, and this is a very cool piece that makes him even better. What it does, V for Victory, his level 9 skill becomes a quick action, at the cost of a 2-round cooldown for the remainder of the match. So V for Victory applies flanked, and now applying it as a quick action, you can immediately follow up with Over the Top or Trench Warfare, and suddenly your Union Jack has 2 preempts that he can do to the opposing side, either defense abilities in ranged or melee in ranged. I prefer the latter. But this is right off the bat, so you're preempting pretty much everything. And let's not forget the extra damage that you're already going to be doing when you hit your opponent with 3 attacks. Target's still going to have flank, so he's likely to be taken out pretty quickly, and the preempts that Union Jack has are only going to help in that respect. This is a great AISO. It's entirely worth using if you have Union Jack or play him. I don't see the 2-round cooldown as a deterrent whatsoever, particularly with some of the faster player versus player matches that we see. Union Jack has been viable before. I don't see him much at all this particular tournament, but this could be something that, depending on what the meta changes next tournament or in subsequent tournaments, could be something that brings him back as a usable hero. 4.2, Red Hulk, Endothermic AISO. Gamma Bomb grants 30% heat. I really like Red Hulk. He's a bruiser in a tactician's body. He's that smart brute. He can really deal out some damage once he gets warmed up. The problem with Red Hulk, though, is that it's getting him warmed up, because he initially starts out with relatively weak attacks, and while you can build up a little bit of steam with him because he's a tactician, maybe you can get some extra turns off of him, I think one of the big hindrances, again, is just how long it takes him to build up that power. So Gamma Bomb isn't really, it's not a super strong attack, but it does have a lot of annoying debuffs on a AoE attack, and he immediately is going to start hitting, jump into that harder hitting territory with those 3 stacks of heat that he's suddenly going to have. Likewise, because he is a tactician, if he's hit by a blaster before his turn in the round, you do the Gamma Bomb right off the bat, and then you hit someone hard with the bonus attack that you're going to get when his regular turn comes around. Absolutely no reason not to use this if you have it in Red Hulk. I mean, just like Union Jacks, this is another no-brainer. If you've got it, slot it. It makes the character better. Doesn't hurt at all. If you listen to my first podcast as we transition here to 4.3, I speculated on what Valkyrie's AISO could be, and I was hoping that it would make Sacrificial Blessing a quick action. Well, and that's exactly what the Valhallan AISO does. Sacrificial Blessing has becomes a quick action, and as an awesome added bonus, it has a 100% chance to apply Death Watch to your allies. Uh, this is, even more awesome than I was hoping. I love Valkyrie. I love using her. I use her and Thor exclusively in every special ops for scoring purposes. You always finish with 100% health. You get a lot of overkills and one-shot KOs. This particular AISO, Scarlet Witch actually needs something like this for her Chaos Shield, by the way, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that put into the game also. Her shield needs to be a quick action, and I think that when you see the type of effect that this particular thing has on Valkyrie, you'll understand what I mean when I say that Scarlet Witch needs this type of thing. So with all the health that Valkyrie now has the opportunity to gain, and she's almost guaranteed to gain it, she's a lot more interesting and fun to play. It's fantastic. I'm not sure it pushes her into the category of must play, but she is exceptionally more viable in player versus player now. This is my favorite AISO just because it makes the most sense out of any so far. It wasn't just adding an ability on or making a hero more powerful. It was taking the hero that we already have and I think putting a fix in her that should have been there in the first place. So very cool. On a side note, there is an AISO you can buy in the store that makes a summons a quick action, and I believe you can slot this in her level 9. If you get her to 14, you can put that and the Valhallan AISO in her, which will also turn her summons into a quick action. Gives her a ton of first round value. Alright, the epic boss in 4.3, once you beat him, you have a shot at the Thor worthy AISO. Wow, I mean this basically turns every Thor armor into modern Thor armor plus whatever else it has on top of it. Inspire Bravery grants 2 stacks of Might of Mjolnir. If you want to use the Mighty Thor to take advantage of his God of Thunder Storm Herald passive, you can do that now and you still have the ability to one-hit KO a team by virtue of this AISO. Throw his dynamic EISO in there, and you suddenly have a team countering and following up with lightning, static charges being procced all over the place, and the Thunder God is just as capable of pounding you into the ground with one shot as he is zapping the entire other side to death with unending lightning. I've used Thor a ton in player versus player. Almost exclusively it's been the modern version just because of the ability for the quick one-hit KO, the entire other team, for that matter. So this is a must-have because you now have that ability for all of his alts and all of his uniforms, as well as whatever else that they have out there. I don't have this one yet. I've been trying to farm it. It's annoying because you got to go through everything, clear the board, but I'm definitely going to keep trying because it's one I really want. 4.4, we have our first hero that has more than one character-specific AISOs. Now, granted, it's Angel, and it's Angel and his Archangel alt, but hey, they're the same character. Penitent. Absolution gains Finest Hour. There's nothing wrong with this, although Absolution is generally what's going to give Angel his buffs, so unless you have a team member buffing him before he goes, this one is going to take an extra turn to set up. I mean, it's an added bonus. I don't think it really does a whole lot for him, but it doesn't hurt. Worth slotting if you got it. Archangel's Virulent causes Pestilence to target all enemies. One of the things that's been a problem with Archangel is his lack of an AoE attack. Now he's got one. He applies the Nanoplague debuff, which is potentially devastating to the entire other team. It's a great AISO, and it immediately makes him a lot more deadly. Now, I'm not saying it's necessarily a game changer for him, but it is a significant improvement on his skill set. I've got both of these. I really don't use Angel a whole lot, other than for his blaster bonus in the Archangel alt, but they add, particularly the Archangel one does add to the character a bit. Nothing that I think you should be trying to farm ahead of other things, though. 4.5, we've got Thundra. I've always said one of the oddest hero additions, just kind of out of left field when they put her in, but they're building her up a little bit. Now they have her Tempest AISO. Tempest preempts her Cyclone Smash with Rolling Thunder. So it's called preempting. basically, I mean, you can call it preempting if you want. You can call it a follow-up. It's basically 2 attacks for the price of 1. These 2 stack the buffs into buffs as Rolling Thunder and Rising Up, so the subsequent Cyclone Smash may hit a bit harder, depending on what Thunder gets. You're also adding both Impaired and Intimidated to your opponent, which is going to greatly reduce how hard they hit you back. And, let's not forget that Cyclone Smash itself has a 60% chance of stun, so either you're going to be hit back pretty weakly or just not at all. I can't argue with this one a whole lot. It stacks buffs, it stacks debuffs, and it Thundra has the capacity to do a lot of damage. I mean, you can use this particular AISO's ability, second, third round after she's already buffed herself a little bit and is hitting harder. So it could spell a quicker end to a fight by using that. Pretty nice. Don't see Thundra used a lot. I don't know if this is really going to change it, but it is a nice piece of gear for her. Finally, 4.6 takes us to Wakanda, Black Panther with the Reflexive AISO. Reflexive Vibranium daggers become a quick action. Quick actions on attacks always mean extra damage in a turn. Black Panther was a hero that took some time to properly buff and set up, and you couldn't really take advantage of the fact that the Vibranium daggers would debuff your opponents. Now you have that option. You don't have to kind of pick and choose and see what you want to do. You can do the best of both worlds. So, the fact that you get extra attacks at no penalty, and that this is the type of hero that can use the extra turns to set themselves up, really make this one a no-brainer if you've got it. Now, a lot of you may recognize that this was actually Black Panther's original EISO, and as such, his EISO has been phased out or changed. He now has the flashing EISO, which gives him Panther's Bite. Vibranium daggers now grants Fang of the Panther, which makes his attack stealthy and applies Hobbled, and Panther Stance now grants Roar of the Panther. Unfortunately, we don't know what Roar of the Panther does because there's no description, and also none of this stuff is working yet anyway. The EISO is broken, so I guess enjoy the AISO, and if you have the EISO, hope they fix it for you there. And finally, our 4.6 epic boss is Venom, and you get a Spider-Man AISO out of that. Arachnid. Web Slingshot has deadly critical hits. Nothing fancy, but if you use Spider-Man, by all means, put this in the Web Slingshot slot. Deadly criticals are really where it's at as far as damage is concerned. So that is the end of our character-specific augmented ISOs, and the last official topic that we're going to cover here before we sign off is our newly released 90 command point hero, Fandral. So Fandral was, not a surprise. We knew he was coming out. I don't know that anyone expected him to come out quite this soon, and we saw it coming with Hogan, but Fandral is the first hybrid hero that we've been able to use. He's a dual tactician / infiltrator hero, which are 2 of the better classes to play if you're going to pick 2. I actually like Fandral a lot. He can counter, he can gain extra turns. He's got the advantages of both of those classes. The flip side, though, is that he gets beat up quite badly by both infiltrators and scrappers, so it does make him a prime target for taking out soon. His passive, Witty Retort, it procs very often. It preempts attacks by applying Distracted, and Distracted, as you're aware, is going to cause a moderate number of attacks to miss. It causes a decent chance for you to not take any damage, and it does proc often, so a pretty nice passive. What makes this ability really great is it's doubly devastating when you combine it with his level 2 or On Guard. On Guard preempts an enemy's attack with an attack by Fandral, and that attack applies Depower. Depower is a really cool debuff, and I believe that Spiral has it, although I never really saw it in action at all. It causes the enemy's attack not to apply statuses. So basically, if you're hit by something that causes poison, you're not going to get poisoned. If you get hit by Hot Shot, you're not going to get set on fire or get stunned if they've got depowered on them. This makes this a really powerful thing. It too procs very often, and in the description it does say apply statuses. It prevents the enemy's action from applying statuses. So it may also be that positive statuses aren't bestowed on the attacking hero or their teammates if they're supposed to. I haven't actually seen that, or maybe I just didn't pay attention to it yet. I don't know if that's the case, and if someone wants to chime in and let me know, that'd be great. But even if it doesn't, just the fact that you're taking away the enemy's ability to debuff while also potentially causing them to miss you altogether with witty retort is a pretty cool thing. Added bonus, On Guard has Rising Up, which can randomly benefit your whole team. So, I started out with his level 2 ability because of how it does coincide with his passive, and the fact is it's just really the best thing that Fandral does and makes him quite a unique and fun hero to play. Back to his level 1 Have At Thee. Very straightforward attack that applies pressure points. Pressure points are nice, if you have an exploit team, it's something that can help quite a bit. It also applies I believe a new debuff called Pincushion, which makes the enemy take extra damage from follow-up and counter-attacks. Given Fandral's skill set, this is not surprising at all. And if you are running a team of, scrappers or infiltrators, this is something that can benefit your entire team at the same time. I mentioned that the amount of enemies that can now beat up on Fandral is kind of excessive due to the whole dual class hybrid thing. The scrappers and the infiltrators can both eat him alive. His level 6 Elixir of Recovery is kind of what keeps this from happening for Fandral. In addition to removing the debuffs and recharging stamina on him, it applies Disengaged, which allows not only Fandral but all his allies to take reduced damage from counter and follow-up attacks, which of course are the two things his character is susceptible to. It's a nice ability. The debuff removal and stamina recharge will be granted to any of the Warriors 3 who are still coming. Hogan and Volstagg should be here soon. Hogan on Monday, and Volstagg, there's a covert task quest coming up shortly. So, this is a nice thing, but as nice as it is, it really does need to be a quick action to be very effective. So this is one of those things that makes a lot more sense on paper than it does in gameplay, because you got to burn through a turn to use it. Maybe Fandral gets an extra turn. He is an infiltrator, so if you're fighting a blaster, then that's entirely a possibility. But I would really like this one more if it were a quick action. And then finally, level 9, Flinning Circus, AoE attack that applies Tenderize and 3 stacks of bleeding. Doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but it is really annoying. So this is something that could work well with slashing or bleeding teams, particularly anyone that uses hemorrhaging. Not much in the way of blunt force trauma, but it can definitely help to wear a team down. So as I said earlier, I really do like Fandral a lot. His preempts are amazing. I actually ran my level 4 Fandral, because that's all the higher he is, as well as Captain Marvel in player versus player on attack, and won 90% of my matches. Effective at level 4, I think that really says something about how unique his abilities are. I don't really see anyone doing that with a whole lot of other heroes. And in addition to his abilities, I actually really enjoy his animations. They're slick, they're well done, and they give the hero a bit of an in-game personality. My complaints about the character design mostly have to do with the hybrid class. If you were truly both classes, I think you should be able to use class-specific EISOs for both Tacticians and Infiltrator. The quick EISO, the Snappy Service one, would solve his level 6 problem. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, he seems to be classified base class as a Infiltrator, and he can only use those EISOs. Also, his bonus goes toward the Infiltrator class. I'd really like to see a true hybrid where the bonus is halved and then split between Tactician and Infiltrator, and same thing for Hogan and what I'm guessing Volstagg, both to be hybrid characters. I wish they were split, but they're not. Maybe someday. So overall, fine character, great addition to the game, and at 90 command points, he's really a relative steal when compared to some of the more expensive and less useful and interesting heroes out there. I'd recommend getting him over a lot of other permanently available ones. So just to touch on Player vs. Player 14, which is about to wind down, I just want to say, remember to have fun. It's a game. We've got fan favorite Rocket Raccoon to look forward to in Player vs. Player 15. Special Ops 17 should be starting real soon. I'm guessing March 28th, next Friday, but there's very little doubt it's going to be pretty quick. So start saving those command points for Deploy Heroes and Captain America's New Alternate. This has been Agent Zero with the Zero Hour. Thanks a bunch. We'll see you next time. AU Pride.